welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be tier ranking all of the companions from the classic era of Doctor Who. So for those of you who haven't seen me tier ranking the episodes in every season of Doctor Who, I have my own tier list that I created, and I'll just quickly run through the tiers just so that you're aware of what they all mean. So at the bottom we have the Skaro Sewers. This is self-explanatory really, it's the sewers. It is just for companions that I do not like. They could have been something, maybe, but there was at least one massive thing about them that I just could not stand. I don't like them. They're going in the sewers. Next up is Doctor Who, which is for companions who just aren't that memorable or who I just don't feel strongly enough about to put them in any other tier. Wibbly Wobbly is the next tier, and that is for companions that I don't really know how I feel about. There's good parts, there's bad parts. I'm just sort of meh, they're okay. I just don't love them enough to put them higher. Next up is Upgrade in Progress, which is for companions who are really, really great. They are on the verge of being the best. I just felt like we could have had more from them. Then we have Fantastic, which is again self-explanatory. These are fantastic companions. They are brilliant in basically everything they do. Love them to bits. And at the top we have Ooey, which is companions who scream Doctor Who to me. They are best of the best, no notes, brilliant companion in every aspect, love them to pieces, cannot get enough of them. So now that we've gone through all the tiers, let's get into the ranking. First up is Susan Foreman, the Doctor's first ever companion and his granddaughter. Now, I feel like people are going to hate me for this one because I like Susan, I do. I think she's nice, but as a companion, she had good points, she did, but generally there wasn't much to her. She was the premise of the first ever episode of Doctor Who. She was the unearthly child, but other than that she didn't really do anything. She was just sort of there to be kidnapped or scared and to scream a lot. She didn't really impact the show in any meaningful way. So for that reason, I'm going to put her into Wibbly Wobbly. Yeah, Susan's going to go into Wibbly Wobbly. Next up is Ian Chesterton, one of the two kidnapped teachers from the first episode of Doctor Who. Now, I remember not thinking all that much of Ian when I first started watching Classic Who. He was a man of the 60s, but a decent one, and he was alright. He was mostly there for the action scenes because the first Doctor wasn't as actiony as others. So Ian Chesterton was the one who would do the fight scenes and would be the bravado of the group. But that's not all there is to him. On my rewatch, I love Ian. He's brilliant. He stands up for people. He stands up for when he sees injustice, and he always looks after Barbara, Ian and the Doctor. He is Ian. He always looks after Barbara, Susan and the Doctor, and I just love him. So I'm going to put Ian Chesterton into Fantastic. Next up is Barbara Wright, who is the other kidnapped teacher from the very first episode of Doctor Who. Similar to Ian, when I first watched the show, I didn't really think that much of Barbara. She was there. But on my rewatch, I like Barbara a lot. I don't think I like her as much as Ian, but I do like her. She, again, is someone who stands up for others and stands up when she sees injustice, and she tried really hard to help people. Even when the Doctor knew they shouldn't, like the Aztecs, she tried to make them give up the human sacrifice thing so that the rest of the world would see that they are a civilised society. And I do applaud her for trying, but you know, you can't really change history. Barbara, being a history teacher, should know that. She should respect that more than anyone else. I'm not going to hold that against her though. I do love Barbara, but I think I'm going to put her into Upgrade in Progress. Similar to Susan, she was often the one who was kidnapped or scared a lot, and it's just a product of her time really, isn't it? She's a woman of the 60s and the show was made in the 60s, so she is just the one who's going to end up being kidnapped. It's a shame, but it's what we have, and I think Upgrade in Progress is quite a nice tier for her anyway. It's not an insult to her. Next up is Vicky Pallister. Vicky was the replacement for Susan after Caroline Ford left the show, and I love Vicky. Vicky is amazing. I did remember that I did like her on my first watch, but I didn't remember how much. and how brilliant she was. I love Vicky and I wish she'd have stayed for longer. Vicky and the First Doctor was a great pairing. They had the grandfatherly-granddaughter relationship that the Doctor had with Susan previously, but Vicky was also allowed to show her intellect and have fight scenes herself. It was a great time for the early period of the show when Vicky was a companion, and I do love her, so I'm going to put Vicky into Fantastic. Next up is Stephen Taylor. So after Ian and Barbara left the show, the next companion introduced was Stephen Taylor, who joined Vicky and the First Doctor in the TARDIS. I like Stephen. I do. I don't think I appreciated him as much on the first watch as I did on the rewatch. I'm noticing a slight theme here. But I don't know what to do with him, because I do like him, but he was just sort of a replacement for Ian. Vicky was a replacement for Susan, but she had an impact more so than what even Susan did, in my view, for my watching. Stephen, I feel like he stands on his own. See, I would put him into Wibbly Wobbly, but now I'm thinking maybe Upgrade in Progress? He was a good companion, he was. I don't know how I feel about his exit, but I think his entrance was quite good and his impact during his time in the TARDIS team was quite good. So I think I'm going to put him into Upgrade in Progress. Yeah, that seems fair. Next up is Katerina. Now, if you're asking who, that kind of shows you what tier I'm going to be putting her in. Katerina was there for 2 serials, but neither of them in their entirety. She joined the team in The Mythmakers when Vicky very, very sadly left the TARDIS, and she stayed for a little bit of the Daleks' master plan before yeeting herself into space to save the team from, I think, a villain. He may have been a space pirate, he may have been a criminal from a prison world, not sure, cannot remember. It's kind of hard to remember certain details when you've got reconstructions to work with and not the actual video. Katerina was an ancient Greek handmaid, and I think she did well for what she had. She was very much playing the confused role of thinking that they were dead and the TARDIS was the sort of vessel to the afterlife, and that was a really interesting concept that they could have played with if the next serial hadn't been the Daleks' master plan. Had there been one between that she was a full part of, that would have worked better, in my opinion, for Katerina's character. However, that's not what we had. We had her for parts of 2 serials and nothing more, so I think I'm going to put her into Doctor Who. I say I think, I know I'm going to put her into Doctor Who. Poor Katerina. She deserved better. I do think that it's really interesting having companions not from modern day London. And to be fair, the classic era did have companions from all over. They had companions from the past, from the present, from the future, from other worlds. Classic era companions really were a big, varied roster. So I know it could have worked. People say that it couldn't have worked because she was too far from the past, but no, I think it could have worked. They just didn't give Katerina anything to work with. They killed her off instantly, and that was harsh. I just feel like Katerina was hard done by. She deserved a better chance at being a companion. But all we have is a little bit with her, so she's in Doctor Who. Next up is Dodo Chaplet. So Dodo joined the TARDIS at the end of the Massacre of St Bartholomew's Eve, and I didn't like her on first watch. On a rewatch, I realised just how insane I was, because Dodo is amazing. She's a really good companion. She's smart and witty, and she isn't afraid to stand up for herself and say what she thinks. And obviously in the 60s, you didn't see a lot of women doing that, especially younger women as well. It's not something that was considered a desirable trait for a woman at the time. So it's really nice to see so many of these companions of the classic era having these traits and being so strong in who they are. So before my rewatch, I probably would have ended up putting Dodo in Wibbly Wobbly or something, because I wasn't sure before how I felt about her. I knew she wouldn't go in the sewers, I knew that, but I wasn't really sure how I felt about her. I didn't think much of her. However, on my rewatch, love Dodo, so I think she can go into... See, I do love Dodo, but I don't know if she's on the level of Vicky. I think I'll put Dodo into Upgrade in Progress. I'm gonna put her in Upgrade in Progress, and just know it's a high Upgrade in Progress, but she's in that category. And again, that is a good category. It's the second category. Ooh is like a special tier. It's not the top tier, it's the special tier. The top tier is fantastic, so Upgrade in Progress is a decent tier to be in. I feel like I have to constantly defend my choices in this. Every time I do a tier list, I'm defending myself. It's my tier list. Next up is Polly Wright. Whether she is any relation to Barbara Wright, I don't know, because I watched this twice and I don't remember them saying anything about it. When Polly was introduced, she was a secretary, I think, to some scientists who were working on the Wotan, which was in the war machines. And she was a successful career girl, and I was quite happy with her. She was very, very strong in herself. Again, like with Dodo, she was outspoken and she didn't really care what people thought. She was a strong, successful career girl. We love to see it. But as a companion, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't help that she has Barbara's last name, but she feels like a discount Barbara, alongside the next companion we'll talk about being a discount Ian. I think I'm going to put Polly into Wibbly Wobbly. I do like her. Seriously, unless I say that I do not like a companion, I love them all. It's just a matter of how much. But yeah, I just don't know how I feel about her. She's in Wibbly Wobbly and she's going to stay there. Next up is Ben Jackson. He joined the First Doctor in the TARDIS alongside Polly after Dodo left in the War Machines. And similar to Polly, he kind of feels like a discount Ian to me. He's fine. Nothing really wrong with Ben. I just don't care. I feel like with Polly and Ben, when I was rewatching, that's another thing, I keep putting Polly and Ben together every time. Barbara and Ian I loved together, but I could separate them very easily. They were two distinct characters. Polly and Ben just feel like they come as a pair, even though they met each other in the first episode of The War Machines. So they didn't know each other beforehand like Ian and Barbara did. With Ben, when I was rewatching, a lot of the Ben and Polly serials, I just kind of forgot that they were there. A lot of the time in Doctor Who, both classic and new, the Doctor and the companions will split up either by chance or on purpose. Usually one of them gets kidnapped or falls through a trapdoor like in Scooby-Doo. With Ben and Polly, usually I forget that they're off doing something. They didn't make an impact on me in any way. Again, I don't dislike them, I just don't find enough about them to find interesting. So I'm going to put Ben into Wibbly Wobbly alongside Polly. I do like Ben and Polly's relationship, but with that relationship, Polly's career aspects just dropped from her character entirely and she just became the coffee maker and the carer of Ben, and I don't like that. Yeah, travelling with the Doctor, being a companion to the Doctor, made Polly's character worse, in my opinion. And as for Ben, he was Ben. Next up is the second Doctor's bestie, Jamie McCrimmon. So Jamie, as the second Doctor lovingly calls him all the time, is a fantastic companion in every aspect. No notes, top tier, he's going into OOU. Jamie McCrimmon stole my heart whilst watching ClassicWho. He was the first companion in the classic era that I went top tier companion, best companion of Doctor Who. I can't even remember why now. I just know that I love Jamie, and he and the second Doctor were brilliant together. Absolutely fantastic, perfect pairing. I wouldn't have minded if it had just been the second Doctor and Jamie for a bit. We didn't need the next companion along, really. I wouldn't have minded if it's just the second Doctor and Jamie. Let them have a season together. Let that love blossom. I don't even ship the second Doctor and Jamie as a couple. I just think I see it. So yeah, Jamie is in OOU, best companion of the classic era by far. He's a brilliant companion in every aspect. He's loyal, he's courageous, he stands up for everyone no matter what. He is there for the second Doctor and he trusts him, but he's not afraid to say, hold up now, what now, Doctor? He will stand up to the Doctor when he needs to as well. He is not a man who shies away from danger or from helping people no matter how hard the situation is. Jamie was there for the vast majority of the second Doctor's run. The first Doctor regenerated into the second during his tenure with Polly and Ben, and during his second serial with Polly and Ben is when he met Jamie. So Jamie joined the TARDIS team with Polly and Ben in The Highlanders, which was the second Doctor's second serial, and he did not leave until the second Doctor was forcibly regenerated at the end of the War Games. Jamie stuck around. He's a loyal guy. Also, a little tidbit, Jamie is the whole reason we have the name John Smith as an alias for the Doctor, because Jamie is the one who, in the episode Wheel in Space, gave the name of John Smith as an alias for the Doctor. So Jamie is a very, very crucial companion to Doctor Who in every aspect, not just for the Doctor in universe, but outside of the universe as well, with the fandom. He's the reason we have the name John Smith. Jamie is god tier companion. It's a shame the same can't be said for the next companion we're going to talk about, Victoria Waterfield. So Victoria joined Jamie and the Second Doctor in The Evil of the Daleks, the end of the Second Doctor's first season, in season 4. And she is a Victorian lady. So again, a companion from the past, just like Jamie, but roughly 150 years out from each other. So it's kind of interesting having two past companions in the TARDIS with no modern day inclusion at all. But Jamie did seem to get hold of modern concepts a lot easier than Victoria ever did, despite the fact that he was from further back in the past than she was. I just love when he calls planes sky beasties. Now, I do like Victoria. As I've said, I like them all unless I say otherwise. But she was kind of useless. Victoria took on the role that Susan and to an extent Barbara did in the early seasons, where she was just there to scream and get kidnapped a lot. One thing I will say about Victoria is that I do appreciate that she never really wanted to join the TARDIS, and not in the same way of Ian and Barbara and Dodo where they were essentially kidnapped. Victoria went with the TARDIS team because she had no other option, because her father was killed and her house had gone and she had nothing left. So she went with the Doctor and Jamie, who had saved her life in this adventure in Evil of the Daleks. So I do appreciate how she joined the TARDIS differently to every other companion we've had so far. And she also left differently as well. When she decided to leave the TARDIS, it was made very clear from the start of that serial that she wasn't enjoying these adventures. She was having a really tough time of it. As I say, she was constantly being kidnapped, and she didn't enjoy them. She wasn't having fun. So I do think that it showed a new side to travelling with the Doctor that we didn't really see with the other companions, even when they were the ones who were being kidnapped and screaming. Because Victoria was very clearly not having fun for these adventures. Yes, she may have had some fun during some of them, but overall it was taking its toll on her and she didn't like it. She didn't want that life. She was a Victorian lady. She grew up expecting to be a Victorian lady, and then this happened. As much as I love her fashion choices during her run, I think that they went too quickly into her having a mini skirt, because Victorian lady, that's scandal. It was a scandal just to show your ankles, let alone all of your knees and everything. Shock horror. See, I would put Victoria in Wibbly Wobbly because, you know, I think I'm going to put her into Doctor Who actually. It's not that I don't remember her, it's just that I don't think of her when I think of Doctor Who companions. Especially with the Second Doctor, I generally go from Polly, Ben, Jamie, and then I'll skip to Jamie and the next companion we're going to meet. I don't think of Victoria. So it's not that I don't know she exists, because if someone said to me Katerina's name before my rewatch, I would have said who, even though I've seen it before. But with Victoria, I would have gone, oh yeah. But I don't think of her. She doesn't come to mind when I think of companions for Doctor Who. So I'm going to put her into Doctor Who. Such a weird way of wording it. I do think that she was good for the show in showing the impact these adventures can have on someone who's just not ready or willing to go on them. But at the same time, she didn't grip me enough to think of her as a companion when I'm thinking of companions. The next companion, however, time to meet Zoe Herriot. Now, Zoe is a tremendous companion, top tier, no notes. Can you guess where she's going? Straight into Uyu, right next to Jamie. I mean, the fact that an entire TARDIS team is in Uyu shows just how good that whole team was. The Second Doctor travelled with Jamie and Zoe from the Wheel in Space until the War Games, and Zoe was fantastic. She was very, very young and she was from the far future. She was an incredible intellect, she had a great mind, and she was not shy about telling the Doctor that she was smarter than him. She made it very clear on several occasions. And she was so good in adventures. She was brilliant. Her, Jamie and the Doctor, fantastic team. No notes on the whole team. Zoe was just brilliant, honestly. She was a young girl and she acted like it, but she also had that intelligent side that she brought out anytime it was required. She had fun on these adventures and she made sure that she had an impact on the outcome of them. She was brilliant in every way. And she stowed away on the TARDIS. I love the way that people join the TARDIS, because in New Who it's generally, do you want to come with me? Come on, let's go. But in Classic Who, you have kidnappings, you have stowaways, you have my house is blown up, I may as well just go and join you then. It's really fun the way that Classic Who companions join and leave the TARDIS. Actually, not so much the leaving. A lot of them are having crappy love stories that take place in one episode. But the joining the TARDIS, fantastic. So Zoe stowed away in a little crate in the TARDIS and the Doctor happened to notice. So he brought her out, and unlike with any other companion, I really appreciate what the Second Doctor did is that he showed Zoe what they were going to go up against. because he'd just had Victoria leaving and he wasn't ready to bring on another young companion just to have her get scared and decide to leave. So he showed her what they were going to be up against, including Daleks. Zoe was unfazed. Zoe's fabulous. I think my favourite Zoe moment comes from, I think, the invasion. Zoe's talking to the Brigadier and some other unit people and they have to do these calculations and she goes, give me 30 seconds. And they're like, no, it would take hours. She's like, give me 30 seconds. And the Brigadier just goes, give her 30 seconds. Fantastic. She does it all in 30 seconds. She literally grabs a piece of paper, runs from computer to computer, checking stuff with people. Within 30 seconds, this girl has figured out something that would take a whole room of people hours to do. And she's like, there you go. Zoe is flawless in every aspect. Next up is Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart, known as the Brigadier for short. So whilst we met the Brigadier in the Second Doctor's era, his tenure as a companion-esque role was in the Third Doctor's era along with the Fourth Doctor's era. He wasn't a companion as such. The Third Doctor, because of his exile on Earth, didn't necessarily have companions so much as a base team, which involved some unit soldiers and unit workers. It wasn't until later into the Third Doctor's run and then the Fourth Doctor's run again where we started seeing people as strict companions. So the Brigadier I've included, and I've included a couple of unit soldiers as well, even though I don't technically count them as companions. I see companions as people who've travelled with the Doctor, not people who've worked with him in 1 or 2 episodes. You know, his friends. They're his Earth friends, not his companions as such. But I have included him in this tier list. I feel like people are going to want me to put him into UEU because he's the Brigadier. But I'm looking at this from my point of view that, yes, the Brigadier was a good friend to the Doctor and he helped him out on several occasions. He helped him out before the Doctor worked for UNIT and he helped him out while the Doctor was at UNIT. However, the Brigadier was very much a military man. That's my issue. It's my issue with a lot of the unit soldiers, is that they are very much military men. They're not free thinkers. And also with the Brigadier, he knew the Doctor changed faces. He knew the Doctor came from another planet. He accepted all of that. But a lot of the times during the Third Doctor's run, the Doctor would tell him things and the Brigadier would just not believe it because that doesn't make any sense. That's not an Earth thing, no. Yeah, I just felt a bit iffy about that because most times the Brigadier was fine with these things that were happening. He was like, okay, so it's an alien, you know what you're doing, Doctor? Okay, there you go. But sometimes he just wouldn't believe it and I'm like, why? When you believed it last week, why are you not believing it now? It doesn't make any sense. So I do like the Brigadier, but I'm going to put him into upgrade in progress. Yeah. Again, it's a good tier, don't come for me. Next up is Sergeant John Benton. Again, a military man, I'm not overly fond, but with Benton, had I not have rewatched Classic Who, I probably would have put Benton into Doctor Who, because I didn't remember the unit years. But now that I've rewatched it, I do quite like Benton. He followed his orders, but with a twist. So when he was told to arresting the Doctor, he just straight away said to the Doctor, okay, well, you may as well knock me out then, because you need to go and do your shit. Benton was loyal to the Doctor, but not to a fault. He was loyal to the right amount. He was loyal to UNIT and to Earth, and he was loyal to the Doctor because he had his own mind and he used it. He knew that the Doctor would save the day and that something was clearly wrong with this thing if the Doctor was being arrested. Benton, he's a good guy. I do like Benton. I think he's good. And as I say before, I'd have put him into Doctor Who, but at the moment, I think I'm going to put him into upgrade in progress again. I don't feel right putting him in Fantastic above the Brigadier, so I think I'll put him into Upgrade in Progress because I think that seems fair. Next up we have Liz Shaw. So Liz Shaw was the Third Doctor's first companion and was a unit scientist. And I really liked her dynamic with the Doctor because she was on his level. She could understand the things that he was saying. Even if she didn't know about certain alien threats and certain things, she knew what he was talking about and she could understand even if she was learning on the spot. And also her dynamic with the Doctor was a bit Mulder and Scully. She was the more sceptical one, but only to a point. Once she saw the evidence, she was like, okay, yep, I'm on board. So I do think that Liz Shaw is a great companion, and I'm really sad that they didn't keep Liz on for longer. I'm going to put her into Fantastic, I think. Liz Shaw is a fantastic companion. I don't really have any faults with Liz, so I'm putting her into Fantastic. Next up is Captain Mike Yates. Now, Yatesy boy. So I did like Yates. Before he betrayed everybody, I did like Yates. He would have been in Wibbly Wobbly, I'm not going to lie to you, because I did like Yates, and then obviously in Invasion of the Dinosaurs he betrayed the world. I'm honestly just so glad that Jo did not last long enough in the show to see Yates become a villain. But also, he was a bit corrupt and everything. There was a time when Sergeant Benton was on duty and he was really, really hungry and hadn't eaten anything. So he asked Jo, who had a buffet in the next room, if she could just bring him some food. And so she went, made him up a plate, grabbed him a little glass of drink, took it out to him, and before Benton could even take a nibble or a sip, Yates came over, moaned at him for eating and drinking on the job, even though he hadn't technically by that point, and sent Sergeant Benton on. And then Yates decided, I'm going to eat and drink all of this. He called it a privilege of position or something like that. And I'm like, no, that's corruption. No, not liking that. That's just, no, that's wrong. So I had issues with Yates before he betrayed the entire world. I know he comes back in Planet of the Spiders and he's fine. I think he should have been fired from unit altogether and in prison for what he did. I know he comes back and he's apparently fine, but I'm going to put Captain Yates into the Scarrow sewers. As far as companions go, you shouldn't be betraying the entire world. And he was not a great army man. So, yeah, Yates is going to go in Scarrow sewers. And I am sorry to any Yates fans out there. I don't hate him. I don't like him. I'm sorry. Next up is Jo Grant, later known as Jo Jones. Now, Jo was the third Doctor's second companion after Liz Shaw left, and she was there by the Brigadier's orders as a worker of unit to be someone who the Doctor could pass test tubes to and tell him how important he is. But Jo surpassed all expectations. Jo was lovely. She was an absolute sweetie and she was adorable. She started out as a bit of a ditzy person, or at least that's what they were trying to make her seem. But she was quite intelligent and she was very, very good in situations with helping the Doctor, not just in telling him how brilliant he is, but in actually helping him to solve the situation and win. She was really great and I love her. And she's a sweetie, so I can't really put her very low anyway. I didn't much like her exit. The unit lot don't really have exits as such because the Doctor's exiled to Earth, so they're all on Earth still. Liz Shaw went back to Cambridge without any word. She didn't get a goodbye scene, so I wasn't keen on that. But Jo leaving, she left in the Green Death and she fell in love. This may have been the first time I semi-believed a classic companion love story exit. I hate the classic companion departures when they're love stories that happen in one serial because it doesn't feel earned to me. But Jo's one, it felt kind of more real. My issue with it is the marriage. She didn't just leave to go travel the Amazon with this professor that she'd met. Seriously, she traded up from doctor to professor. Go Jo. She didn't just leave to go travel the Amazon with him. She actually had to marry him. I don't know why. She said she was going to go with him and then he was like, oh, okay, great. So we'll get married on this date then. It's like, sorry, what? What? Who said anything about a wedding? So yeah, I wasn't so keen on that. But other than that, her exit was fine. And her time on the show did leave an impact. And it was the first time that you felt a proper relationship between the Doctor and his companion in quite a while. For me, kind of felt like a daughter to the Doctor, not a granddaughter like Vicky and Susan felt to, well, I mean, Susan was the granddaughter, to the first Doctor. She felt more daughterly to the Doctor. And it was the first time in quite a while that I felt the Doctor's sorrow at her departure, and I think that in itself shows just how impactful Jo was to the show during her tenure. So I'm gonna put her into fantastic. Yeah, I think that's a good spot for Jo. I think she's a fantastic companion. I probably would have put her in Upgrade in Progress, but she had such a strong impact on the Doctor and the show, and she was the one who was there when the Doctor started travelling past Earth again. I think she was even there when the Time Lords revoked the exile as well, so she was there for a lot and she helped the Doctor through a lot and she had such an impact. I'm putting her in fantastic. Next up is Sarah Jane Smith. So Sarah Jane joined the show with the third Doctor's last season and then carried on into the fourth Doctor's run. And she joined in quite a fun way. She was pretending to be her aunt, I think it was, Lavinia Smith. And the Doctor had read her aunt's paper, so he knew that Sarah Jane was quite young to be Lavinia. So it immediately created a fun dynamic between the two of them. And Sarah Jane was instantly shown to be smart and intuitive and to just speak her mind. She was not a woman who was afraid of getting into a dangerous situation and talking her way out of it if she had to. So I do like Sarah Jane. I don't like her as much as other people do though. I feel like most people would straight away put her into ooey-oo, but I don't love Sarah Jane to that extent that everyone else in the fandom seems to. So for me, while she is amazing, I don't see her as Uwe. I do see her as what you think of when you think of Doctor Who, but that is purely because I grew up with New Who and she was the first classic companion I ever met. I say met in the new show because she was in School Reunion in series 2, and that was my first introduction to the fact that there was a classic era of Who. I knew that my dad used to watch the show when he was a child, but I thought this was a full-on reboot. I didn't realise this was a revival that continued from that era. So I didn't know that Sarah Jane was an old companion until she appeared. So for me, that's why she makes an impact, because she's lasted so long, not necessarily because of her time on the show in general. So I'm going to put her into Fantastic. I'm hoping all of the Sarah Jane fans are going to forgive me, because I know that most people would want her in Uwe. I know that. But I just don't feel right putting her there. For me, it's my tier list. I don't feel right putting her there, so I can't. I'm sorry. Sarah Jane made a huge impact on the show, and she was a great companion to the third and fourth Doctors. Her entrance was brilliant. Her exit was quite sudden for me, but I understood the reason for it in universe, so it worked. And her re-entry into the show in New Who was brilliant. The way it was done was fantastic, but we'll get there when we talk about New Who companions. For now, just in her classic era, Sarah Jane was a fantastic companion. It cannot be denied. So for that reason, she's in Fantastic. Next up, we have Dr. Harry Sullivan. Now, unlike the fourth Doctor, Dr. Sullivan actually has a medical licence. So, Harry Sullivan. I have a new appreciation for Harry, having done my rewatch of his episodes. However, similar to Victoria, I don't not remember him, I just don't think of him. He was a great companion to have at the time, but he was also kind of unnecessary. Other than saving the Doctor from a landmine, I don't see an impact that Harry gave on the show. His whole reason for being there was because they didn't know how old the fourth Doctor was going to be, so they had to have an Ian type character to come in to do the action scenes if necessary. However, Tom Baker wasn't that old, could do it all himself, and that was kind of proven when Harry left the show and it was just the fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane for a season and a half before Sarah Jane left. So I'm going to put Harry into Doctor Who next to Victoria for those reasons. He was a fine companion to have, I just don't think he was necessary to the Doctor's TARDIS team. Next up is Leela. My queen, Leela, Warrior of the Sever team. Love her, love Leela. Leela is queen of Doctor Who companions. If Jamie is the king of Doctor Who companions, Leela is the queen, and I love her to bits. Cannot get enough of Leela. So I'm sure you can guess, she's going into Uwe. Leela is probably my favourite of the classic era companions in general, because she is just amazing. I can't get enough of Leela. I was distraught when she left, especially with the way she left, but she was brilliant. She is similar to Zoe. She was a stowaway on the TARDIS. She just sort of ran on. I think Jamie did that too, actually. When the Doctor met her, he was just going to go, and Leela was like, no mate, I'm going with you. And so she just ran onto the TARDIS, and magic happened. Leela was brilliant. She was technically a human from the far future, but she acted like someone from the past because of her situation on her planet and how her tribe worked. So she was an interesting companion from the off, and she was so fierce. Like with most of the other women on this list, she was not afraid to speak her mind, ever, and she was not afraid of anything. Leela was a fearless warrior. You do not want to get on the wrong side of Leela. She was fierce, she was determined, she was loyal to no end. One of my favourite scenes with Leela is from Horror of Fang Rock, where a woman screams and Leela wastes no time in slapping the bitch to shut her up. And it works. Brilliant. Comical, wonderful. If someone did that in normal life, I'd be like, what are you doing? But for Leela on that show, nah, love it, love everything about it. But earlier in that episode, she showed her loyalty to the Doctor when someone either said something bad about him or was gonna do something, and she just instantly grabbed her knife, put it to the guy's throat and started threatening him. And the Doctor just went, better listen to her. I love it. The fourth Doctor and Leela were a great pair, and Leela in general is queen. Love her, love Leela to no end. I could probably go on about her for a while, so I'm going to pause and move on to the next companion. But know that Leela is fantastic in every way, every aspect, no notes, top tier. Love Leela. Next up is K9. Now this is K9 Mark 1, I think. Maybe Mark 2, not sure. But I think I'm just going to include all the K9 marks in this because they're all the same dog. So the first canine travelled with Leela and the fourth Doctor, and then stayed on Gallifrey with Leela. Then the Doctor built a new canine. He had a set ready to go. He has no loyalty to his robot dog. He just had another set ready to go. He built a new canine, and that canine left with Romana in another serial, and then another one was left with Sarah Jane at some point outside of the show. So there's a lot of canines floating about, not to mention the new canine that the 10th Doctor made for Sarah Jane after her canine blew up with the school and school reunion. There's a lot of robot dogs. However, canine is just not a companion I care about. I've heard from, I think it was Elizabeth Sladen, who said in an interview something about how canine was horrible to work with. Because it was an actual robot dog, it was horrible to work with. Every time the dog enters the TARDIS, because there's no ramp, you have to keep panning away while it bumps against the TARDIS, I guess. But yeah, I'm putting canine into Doctor Who. He's useful when he needs to be, but I just don't see him as a companion. I see him as a piece of machinery who happens to be useful. He was definitely there for the kids. I don't know how much merchandising ClassicWho used to do. I know they had annuals and yearbooks and magazines and all sorts, but I don't know if they had toys the same way as we did when New Who came out, when literally every single creature was made into a toy. Yeah, I feel like K9 was just there for the kids. So K9 is in Doctor Who. Next up is Romana 1. Now obviously I don't actually know if this is her first incarnation or not, but we call her Romana 1 because she was the first Romana we met. Romana's a great companion. She's another Time Lord, and it was amazing to have another Time Lord in the TARDIS with the Doctor, and she often tried to keep him in check a bit. She was, I think, almost fresh out of the academy because she was very much strict with the Time Lord rules, strict with how to work a TARDIS, and she was very much a Time Lord. Whereas the Doctor was a renegade, Romana was a Time Lord. She was keen on rules, responsibilities and all of that. And she learned over her time with the Doctor not to be quite so rigid with that structure, but in general, Romana was a great character, incredibly intelligent, apparently did way better in her exams than the Doctor did. And I just really love Romana. I thought she was such a great addition to the team. I say team, it was just the two of them. I thought she was such a great addition to the TARDIS. And it was brilliant to have another Time Lord there because it linked back to Gallifrey. We'd seen Gallifrey a couple times at this point, I think, but Romana was a clear link back to the Doctor's home and all of that. So it worked for me. Romana 1 in general was a fantastic companion, and I'm putting her into fantastic. Next up is Romana 2. So Romana regenerated in the first episode of the next season after the Key to Time season, and she regenerated into Romana 2, Lana Ward. I believe Mary Tam left the role because she saw Romana being reduced to being the screamer who got kidnapped, the Daphne, if you will, whereas she wanted to play Romana as the smart Time Lord that she was. And I can see that. However, when Lana Ward took the role, whilst that did happen, you did see Romana working her way out of it, just the same as if the Doctor was ever kidnapped and he would work his way out of it. There was one instance where Romana was kidnapped with a group of people who were being trafficked. I think it was in the Horns of Nimon, and she just got out her sonic device and started walking around as if she owned the place, just like the Doctor. And I think for some people that wouldn't work as well because then you've just got two Doctors. But the fact is that they are two different characters and they react to things completely differently and they behave differently and they work around things to create solutions differently. And Romana is brilliant. I think she and the Doctor worked really well together and I love Romana. So Romana 2 is going with Romana 1 into fantastic. Next up is Adric. Now where do I start with Adric? So Adric is a boy genius, kind of the Luke Rattigan of ClassicWho, but without the intense narcissism that Rattigan has, sort of. He is intensely narcissistic, he has a massive ego, but not to the same fault level that Rattigan did in New Who. My issue with Adric, because he would have been higher, okay? I already know where he's going, I already know. He would have been higher because he is a good companion to have on the TARDIS, but I think that the reasons for that are done better in other companions. There's another companion we'll meet who has those same traits that I think are useful in a companion, but better, done better. Adric was a narcissistic misogynist and he was chauvinistic, and yes, he was young. I don't think he was a child as such, maybe a teenager. He was young, but he never seemed to learn from his mistakes or from the fact that he was surrounded by really intelligent and quick-witted women. And it's just, I don't like him. I don't like him. And from that statement alone, you know where he's going. Adric is going into the Skaro sewers. Adric is in the Skaro sewers. Now, Adric was the second companion death in Classic Who that I can remember at this moment in time. He died saving the world from Cybermen. So you'd think I'd put him higher. And I would. I really would. Honestly, I would. But I can't. His traits, his personality traits don't work for me. And also, the reason that the Cybermen got as far as they did is because Adric was helping them. And it wasn't the first time that Adric helped the villains in a serial. At least twice I can think of at this moment. There may have been a third time, but at least twice Adric was the reason that the villains knew certain information and got as far as they did, because he was helping them. Not in a malevolent way, he wasn't evil, but he was helping them. He was so sure of his own intellect that he thought he could do something better than the Doctor. He betrayed everyone several times over because of his own ego, and he didn't learn from that. As I said earlier, he doesn't learn from his mistakes. He did it before, he didn't learn from it, so then he did it with the Cybermen. So his sacrifice to save the world from the Cybermen, I can't really say, oh, all is forgiven then because you died saving the world and fixing your mistake, because he caused that. I mean, not in total. Obviously, the Cybermen are the blame for it. You know, the Cybermen are the bad guys. But I can't say I completely forgive Adric for all of his wrongdoings just because he sacrificed himself at the end. Deathbed apologies to me don't mean shit. If you're saying sorry when it's your last second of life, it's like, well, that doesn't mean anything to me. Are you even sorry, or are you just trying to feel better about yourself in your last moments? No, either be sorry in real life and learn from your mistakes, or don't bother. So Adric is in the Skaro sewers and he's staying there. Come at me in the comments for that one, I don't care. Next up is Nyssa. Now, Nyssa has those traits that Adric does that I said earlier were useful in a companion in the TARDIS, but she does them better. She is smart and useful. She knows her own mind, but she's also willing to learn. She knows that she doesn't know everything, and she's willing to learn, but she is incredibly intelligent, and she uses that to help the Doctor and to save the Doctor. I really do like Nyssa. I don't love her. This is my issue. I don't love her. Something about Nyssa I never vibed with, really. I don't know why. I just didn't vibe with Nyssa, but I do think she's a great companion. So I'm gonna put her into upgrade in progress. I don't think it would be honest of me to put her into fantastic when I have some issue with her. I don't know what the issue is, I really don't. I just didn't vibe with Nyssa, but I do think she's a great companion to have in the TARDIS. I think it worked better because of who she was with. I'm not sure if it was just the Doctor and Nyssa, whether it would work. But Nyssa was part of the TARDIS family with the Fifth Doctor. Adric, Nyssa and Tegan were all part of the Fifth Doctor's family, and I do think that the Fifth Doctor family TARDIS worked really well, but I do think Nyssa is good. Next up is Tegan Javanka. So Tegan joined the Fourth Doctor in his final episode and watched him regenerate into the Fifth, and so she was with Nyssa and Adric during the Fifth Doctor's run. And I love Tegan. I think she's brilliant. All the girl wanted was to go to work. She just wanted to get to that airport, and she never shied away from complaining to the Doctor that he got the wrong place again, or the wrong time. I'm pretty sure he did get to Heathrow once, and it was the complete wrong time zone, but he got there. But yeah, so I do think Tegan was brilliant, and the way she joined the TARDIS was that she just walked in because she thought it was a police box, and then it was when the Master's TARDIS was inside and things were a bit haywire, and she just couldn't find her way out, and she was very, very confused. She knew it was a vessel because she is an amazing air hostess, even though I'm not sure she actually did the job before that. She knew her way around a vessel. She knew that it was a vessel of some kind, and she was just desperate to find her way out at that point. I do like how she entered the TARDIS. I think it's great. I feel really bad for her that she lost her aunt that day because the Master decided to turn her into a doll, but she survived, so we got Tegan. And I do think Tegan's fun, so I'm going to put Tegan into fantastic. Tegan was in that family unit of the Fifth Doctor's companions, and her place was very, very clear there. She was the normal one of the group. You had Adric and Nyssa being the intelligent kids, the Doctor being the dad, and obviously Tegan was just the normal human being there, like, why? She was the heart of the group, I think. I think being the normal human, she couldn't really add intellectually to the group. She did. She was smart. She did add to that, but she couldn't add intellectually the same way the others could. So she added the human emotion and the heart to the group. And I think that really worked in her favour. Yeah, I love Tegan, so she's fantastic. Next up is Vizsla Turlough. No, I don't really want to talk about Turlough. Turlough joined Tegan and Nyssa in the TARDIS with the Fifth Doctor, and he was there until almost the end of the Fifth Doctor's run. His whole purpose was to kill the Doctor. Why is he included in companion lists? I don't like him. Turlough was a horrible person, truly horrible person, who was brought back to life by the Black Guardian and was told, hey, kill the Doctor. And Turlough went, okay. Just as an aside, I think his life was in danger of being revoked by the Black Guardian if he refused. But still, he said okay to murdering someone. So Turlough was from another planet, and I did not realise that until the episode where he goes back to his planet. He was from another planet, and he was posing as a schoolboy at an Eton-like institution. He went on a joyride in someone else's car and crashed, killing himself and possibly injuring the friend who did not quite want to be in that car with him anyway. And when he was found out, he blamed it all on the friend. Turlough is not a good person. He was never a good person. I do not like Turlough. I do not care for Turlough. He took a car that wasn't his on a joyride, killing himself and injuring his friend. He blamed it all on the friend to the teachers at the school. He tried to kill the Doctor on several occasions. He's a jerk. I don't like Turlough. He's going in the Skaro sewers. If Turlough has any fans out there, fight me. I don't care. He's in the Skaro sewers. I hate Turlough. I despise Turlough. Next up is Chameleon. So Chameleon joined the TARDIS with the 5th Doctor during the serial The King's Demons, and he was originally working for the Master. I am very confused about Chameleon. He confuses me. He's a genuine robot. That was not a human in a suit. It should have been, but it wasn't. It's a genuine robot, and it did not work. I don't know why they bothered. I don't know how much money they wasted on that thing, but it didn't work. And he confuses me. Why have this robot? I get the purpose of Chameleon was he was a chameleon robot. He could change into any person. So when they met him, the Master was using him to pose as, I think, the king. But Chameleon didn't really do anything. He did nothing. Chameleon added literally nothing to the TARDIS. He just shouldn't have been there. He should have been used in the King's Demons and then decommissioned because he was fucking useless. I would put him into Doctor Who with K9, but I think that would be an insult to everyone in the Doctor Who tier. So I'm going to put Chameleon in the Skaro sewers. I feel bad doing that to Chameleon, but I don't care because he was useless. There was no point in Chameleon. He worked well the next time he was used by the Master, but that was in one serial again. I think that's the best way of doing it, is if he was the Master's companion. If he was the Master's companion, not the Doctor's, I think it would have worked better because he would be able to work with the Master's schemes. I don't think it works with the Doctor's heroism. But yeah, Chameleon's and Skaro sewers. I feel bad because I don't dislike him, but I don't see a need for Chameleon in the TARDIS. I'm sorry. Next up is Purple Gillian Brown, also known as Peri. Now, I did like Peri. I thought she was introduced really well. She was an American student who was just on holiday in Lanzarote, I think, and happened upon the scenario between the Doctor and the Master. And she took on the Master single-handed in her first serial, so already she was high in my esteem. But after that, she kind of dwindled. She didn't do anything after that. She peaked in her first serial and then went down. So I don't really have anything great to say about Peri. I want to be nice about Peri, I do, but I just don't have anything great to say about her. I don't feel like she was a brilliant companion. She was there, and that's great, but I don't feel like she made more of an impact than anyone else. Other than her first serial where she took on the Master, I can't really think of anything massive that she did. And it may be because I haven't got to that part of my rewatch yet. I watched all of Classic Who earlier this year. I'm only rewatching it again because I'm doing my series of scarf shorts where I'm crocheting a scarf based on the ratings for the episodes. So that's the only reason I'm rewatching it right now. It wasn't that long ago that I watched these episodes the first time, and I don't really feel like she made much of an impact. So as much as I want to be nice about her, I think I'm going to put her into Wibbly Wobbly. Yeah, I'm putting her into Wibbly Wobbly. I don't really have anything of value to say about her. Moving on then to Melanie Bush. So Mel was a companion of the 6th Doctor and the 7th Doctor, and she was alright. I don't really know. I like Mel. Again, I can't really remember what impact she had. I do like Mel, and I think she was great in serials like Paradise Towers. I thought she was brilliant in that. But other than that, I don't really feel like she did anything. I do like, in her time with the 6th Doctor, the Trial of a Time Lord season, she was not taking any of his shit. The 6th Doctor wasn't very nice to Peri, but Mel did not take that shit. She was like, drink your fucking carrot juice and go on the treadmill. She was hardcore with the Doctor. She did not care. But she was so friendly about it as well. She was so bubbly and positive. That's something I think that Mel shines in, is that she was always bubbly and positive in every aspect. Even when she was scared, she was still bubbly about it. So I feel like putting her into Upgrade in Progress because of that. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put Mel into Upgrade in Progress. I think she was a decent companion. I don't remember much of her time with the Seventh Doctor other than other than Paradise Towers, which is one of my favourite serials. But yeah, she was a decent companion. I'm going to put her into Upgrade in Progress. She wasn't as strong as I'd have liked, but she was a strong contender for a fantastic companion, so Upgrade in Progress seems fair for Mel. Next up is Ace, also known as Dorothy. I love Ace. I love Ace. I think my favourite era of Classic Who is probably Seventh Doctor and Ace. There may be past seasons that had more episodes that I preferred, but the Seventh Doctor and Ace had the best dynamic for a while in the show by that point, and I loved it. It was so brilliant. Ace was a fantastic addition to the show in every aspect. No notes, top tier. Can you guess where she's going? That's right, she's an ooey-oo. Ace is brilliant. Ace is Ace. She's fantastic. She is so strong and feisty and fierce, and she was very young, and she went through something quite traumatic before her time with the Doctor. Twice over, actually, if you think about Paravel. When she met the Doctor, she was on this alien world. She went through something quite traumatic for a teenager to go through, where she was transported to this alien world, and she made the best of it. She had a job at this cafe or something on this alien world, despite not knowing where she was, not knowing how to get home. I think she's a really great character in general, and as a companion to the Doctor, she was fantastic. She allowed the Doctor to show his more childish side off, as well as his adult Machiavellian aspects as well, and she came with a backstory as well. Ace was the first companion that came with a full-on backstory, not just how she got to the alien world in the first place, but before that, The Curse of Fenric and Ghostlight, those serials talked about Ace's past and her mother and what happened at this manor house in Perivale. It was so deep and interesting, and it added so much layers and depth to the character of Ace and her dynamic with the Doctor. That team I love. And the Doctor, like previously with Leela, where he was like, better listen to what she says, Ace liked to work with explosives. And the Doctor, even though he continually told her to keep it away, like, put it away, don't bring it out with you, anytime it was needed, he was like, you've got your 929 on you, right? Good girl. I think he actually really did adore Ace, and I really love those two as a duo. They're brilliant. So Ace is an ooey-oo, and she's staying there. Next up is Dr. Grace Holloway. So Grace came in with the TV movie in the 8th Doctor's run, and she was a doctor who appeared in her opera gown because even though she was on call, she decided to go to the opera. Don't quite know how that all works. She performed a full surgery whilst in an opera gown. Kind of seems a bit iffy, but she did. And the surgery is botched because the guy had 2 hearts and she killed the Doctor. And he regenerated into Doctor 8. So already, Grace is a little bit iffy there, but that's not her fault. She didn't know that the guy had 2 hearts. So I can't really hold that against her. Overall, Grace didn't have that much of a huge impact on me as a viewer watching this movie. I didn't think that much of the TV movie in general. It did feel like an extended pilot episode of a show, and that would have been fine. Not brilliant, but fine. Although I did have a lot of issues, like small issues with it in general. Mostly the master fingernail thing. I didn't like that. That was creepy. I don't like it. But Grace was fine. She was fine. That's the thing, I don't really have much to say on Grace. She didn't believe the 8th Doctor when he asked for help and told her the situation, and she either called the police or the psychiatric ward on him and said, please take this guy out of my house. And I do get that, I do. But she let him into her house in the first place. I don't think he broke in, I'm pretty sure she let him in. Fully thinking he was crazy, she let him in. But she did help save the day in the end. But that's kind of it. She didn't really do anything that I found all that impactful. I feel like any other companion could have been there and done the same thing, maybe better. So I think I'm going to put Grace into Wibbly Wobbly. I just don't feel strongly about Grace in any direction. She was there, she was fine. If the 8th Doctor had have had a full season with Grace, maybe I'd feel differently. I probably would, in fact. But I've only got the TV movie to go on with Grace, so I'm going to just leave her in Wibbly Wobbly. And that may be it for the classic era of the show and the movie. But the 8th Doctor also has other companions in audio form, and I'm going to be including 2 of those now. So in the monthly range, he has Charlotte Pollard and I think someone else as well. But I'm not including them because that doesn't count to me as a season. However, the 8th Doctor has 8th Doctor Adventures, which has 4 full seasons with companion Lucy Miller. So I'm going to be discussing Lucy Miller and another companion who appears in a later season of those seasons of Audio Adventures, because I think that they are brilliant companions and deserve to be talked about. So first up, as I said, is Lucy Miller, and she is amazing. People have called her a proto-Rose or a discount Rose. I don't see that. I think Lucy is completely her own person and she's brilliant. She's blonde and she's working class. That's the only similarities I see between her and Rose at all. I think Lucy is completely her own person and she has an amazing story with the Doctor. She travels with him for 3 seasons of the audio dramas, plus she has a mini season of further adventures that take place between seasons 1 and 2, and they are honestly fantastic audio dramas. They're all from Big Finish. I highly recommend listening to them. They're brilliant, and Lucy Miller is fantastic as a companion. Speaking of, she's going into fantastic. Lucy's really, really feisty, she's smart and she's quippy, and she reminds me more of Martha or Donna than she does Rose, to do with her dynamic with the Doctor. I just really love the story that they did with Lucy Miller and the Doctor. In the first season, there's an overarching story of why she's with the Doctor in the first place, because the Time Lords, it's not a spoiler, it's literally at the beginning of the first episode, the Time Lords placed her in the TARDIS. The Doctor is essentially her bodyguard, and no one knows why. But she's there, and then that sort of goes on throughout the season as to why he's having to protect her, like what from. It's really interesting, and I love the fact that it all ties together with the end of the season being the culmination of that arc. And then after that, she travels with the Doctor more and goes on further adventures with him. And she is so brilliant and brave and, as I say, feisty. And her ending is, honestly, like, she's a brilliant companion. I would put her into Uyu. I really would. Considering how she left the TARDIS at the end of season 4 of these 4-season series that the 8th Doctor had with Lucy, I would put her into Uyu just for that alone. And I am actually considering it, to be honest, because I think she is that good. I do think she's that good as a companion. Lucy Miller made the 8th Doctor adventures so much more enjoyable. Paul McGann is a great Doctor. The 8th Doctor is fantastic. And Lucy Miller, played by Sheridan Smith, is fantastic. But put them together, it's gold. It's brilliant. And I am considering putting her into Uyu. Her reactions to things, how she helped the Doctor solve issues, and just what she did on her own as well. There's something that Lucy Miller does at the end of season 4 which I don't really think many companions could do. I think maybe one on this particular tier list in the classic era, and definitely one in the New Who list at least, but she's phenomenal. I think I may actually move Lucy Miller up to Uyu. I didn't think I'd do this because being an audio adventure companion, I don't feel right putting her against the proper classic era companions. But no, considering everything that Lucy does and how she grows as a character throughout her seasons with the Doctor, I do think she deserves to be an Uyu. Lucy Miller is an Uyu. I've just changed that. I've convinced myself she's that amazing. And the last companion we're going to talk about for this classic era video is Tamsin Drew. Now, I did hesitate about including Tamsin in this list because she's only with the Doctor for a short time in the final season of his 4-season run of 8th Doctor Adventures at the start of his audio dramas. But I wanted to include her because she is in those seasons. If I'm including those as seasons, as if they were the seasons of the show, which, by the way, would have been fantastic seasons of the show, then I kind of need to include her in this. So Tamsin is an interesting companion because she was brought in kind of by mistake, and the Doctor just sort of kept her around and she stayed. I mean, she didn't exactly betray the Doctor, but she did choose to leave to go with someone else. And her ending as well was very impactful in the drama itself. And I do think that she was a decent companion while she lasted. As I say, it wasn't long. People talk about Ruby Sunday and how she felt too happy and jolly with the 15th Doctor, and there wasn't enough tension between the Doctor and companion. With Tamsin, it was a lot more tension between them. As I say, she kind of joined the TARDIS by mistake, and I do think that she was good in the companion role, but there was so much tension between her and the Doctor at times of choosing the right path of what to do that I think it added to the story. But I don't know if it makes her a good companion or not. So that's where I'm having my issue figuring out. I think because we don't have much time with her, I think it's only right to put her into Wibbly Wobbly, because I don't know how I feel. I do think there are such good things about her, and I do think that there are iffy things about her, which I can't say because of spoilers, but they work together to make a really interesting character and a really unique one as far as companions go. And again, I would have loved to have seen this on screen. The 8th Doctor audio adventures for seasons 1 to 4 with 8th Doctor and Lucy Miller, that's what they're called. They should be on screen. They're brilliant. If any animators out there want to animate all of those episodes, please do. I think Tamsin Drew is a really interesting character and a unique one among companions, but as far as companions go, I can't say whether I think she's a good companion or whether I think she's just a good character. So I'm going to keep her in Wibbly Wobbly. But that is my list. That is all the companions for the classic era of Doctor Who, plus the bridge era, completely finished. I think it's quite a good list. There's more higher up than there are lower down. And I am shocked that I put one of them into Ooey, but I convinced myself it happens. But yeah, so that's my tier list. Please let me know in the comments below if you agree with my list, if you disagree, if I put your favourite person in the Skaro sewers, or if I put your least favourite person too high up. Let me know who your favourite companions are for the classic era. Have you listened to the 8th Doctor audio dramas? Tell me all your thoughts on those below, because I will be making a video on those at some point. They are fantastic seasons of audio vision. But that is it for this video. Next time will be the New Who era companions, and then after that I'll be doing a full ranking of all the companions in general, and we'll see where they all end up in that. Until then, goodbye.